So today we're going to be answering the question of, are analytics ruining the NBA? Now, I already know that this is going to be a controversial topic because I'm sure some of you guys out there watching this are probably big proponents of analytics and some of you aren't, okay? Some people, I think this is going to be one of those things where we're going to get a lot of different opinions on this matter, but I want to give you my honest opinion based on some of the things that I've been seeing in the past. I mean, regarding the past, I'm talking about the last 2 or 3 years in the NBA, and based off of some comments that I've heard from certain individuals within the NBA community and where I think this is going to take this particular person or this team. So a few days ago, okay, not too long ago, I heard the owner of the Houston Rockets, his name is Tillman Fertitta. You know, he's one of the richest people in the world. He's worth 2.2. No, I think he bought the team for $2.2 billion. He's a businessman. He's very savvy and all of these great things. So he's a very good, astute businessman, and he's done really well for himself in his professional business career. That being said, okay, the Houston Rockets are one of the proponents in the NBA today of analytics. Now, I'll just give you a backstory. So here's the backstory behind analytics. Analytics essentially is a way to look at the performance of the NBA players on the court at a deeper level or from a different perspective. So they take certain things into consideration, such as PER, which is player efficiency rating. They look at certain percentages of where you shoot from the floor. They look at your plus minus, how successful is your team with you on the floor versus when you're off the floor. So they look at all of these different things and they kind of skew away from the traditional metrics of measuring the performance of an NBA player, such as the points, rebounds, assists, and steal. These are the traditional metrics of measuring performance in a basketball as far as if we're looking at players. Now, this goes a step further. I mean, the other traditional metrics, forms of counting are, looking at, okay, wins versus losses, points per game, defensive points allowed per game, if we're going to look at it from a macro standpoint, if we're looking at teams. So analytics sort of wiggles its way in between these two things and tries to sort of provide a different perspective on, things that are happening on the court as far as the team's performance overall and the way individual players are performing to inform decision makers, I'm assuming upper level management in the teams, to help them make better decisions as far as what type of players are looking to sign, looking at the way the NBA is skewing. It's because now it's becoming more of a three-point game that has a lot to do with the advent of the three-point shot that Stephen Curry and the whole Golden State Warriors have sort of popularized and sort of revolutionized the game of basketball. So that's really where analytics comes into basketball. Now, there's some people who don't really like analytics. People like, for instance, Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley does not like analytics. He said analytics is just for a bunch of nerds who couldn't play basketball, wanted to find a way to get into the sport, so they invented a thing called analytics just so they could be a part of the game that they could never play. That's his take on it. It sounds funny, but I'm sure that's what he really believes. Now, there's some people that tend to take that stuff really, really, really seriously, and they use it as a form of, I'm assuming their execution model or their business model when they go about constructing teams and all these different things. The person I'm primarily talking about is Daryl Morey of the Houston Rockets. Excuse me. He's the general manager of Houston Rockets, and he's a big proponent of this. He's also spoon-fed a lot of this data, a lot of this information to the owner in Tillman Fertitta, if I'm saying his name, Tillman Fertitta. And as of recent, I've heard Tillman Fertitta come out and say some pretty interesting things. So one of the things he said, this is the owner of the Houston Rockets. He was recently on ESPN First Take, and he comes out and says that at one point, James Harden was the best defender in the NBA. Now, when he said that, there was like this silence that took over the studio because it was Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman and their host, and you could hear them go silent. Now, I think the reason they went silent is because they were trying to stop themselves from saying, "Bro, what the hell did you just say? Did you just honestly say that can you put James Harden and defense and make them synonymous with one another?" Now, that's not to say that James Harden has not become a better player on the defensive end, but for you to come out and say that James Harden at one point is the best defender in the league, this is when people who don't follow analytics, who don't support analytics, begin to look at you sideways. People like me. Now, Daryl Morey also said because I'm sure of his philosophy. He also said that James Harden is the greatest scorer in NBA history. And this ruffled a lot of feathers because if James Harden is the greatest scorer in NBA history, where does that leave Will Chamberlain, who averaged 50 points in a season? Where does that leave Kareem, who's the all-time leader in points, I think with 36,000 points in his career? Where does that leave Michael Jordan, who averaged 30 points per game for his entire career? Where does it leave these guys? How is he the best scorer in NBA history when he doesn't even have the highest scoring season average in the season when Michael Jordan has that? So when you have people who follow analytics coming out and saying this type of stuff, I believe is beginning to really create a lot of dummies out there. And I hate to be so for what I'm saying, but there are a lot of people taking nonsense and trying to make sense out of it. Okay, so one thing is, the Houston Rockets have been such a big proponent of analytics. The only problem is their team hasn't even been to the finals under the tutelage of Daryl Morey. So if your analytics are so great, if your philosophy in drafting is so great, how come your team has never even made it to the finals yet? Yet you have the analytics to guide you. And this year, Tillman Fertitta said that the Houston Rockets are going to go to the NBA Finals because they have the best transition player in the history of basketball in Russell Westbrook. Okay, I don't know I don't know what data they looked at to get them to make him say that. But this is the type of stuff that people that follow analytics begin to say that really begin to irk me. If you look at a player's plus minus, that doesn't tell you the whole story of the game. Another thing that analytics does not measure is the fear factor. Now you may say, what the hell is the fear factor? Well, if you step on the court and you see somebody that's better than you, right? How do you measure that? Because in some way that's going to affect your ability to perform on the court because you're going to be intimidated by that guy. How do you measure intimidation? You can't measure it. How do you measure leadership? What type of analytics do you have to measure leadership? You don't have analytics for that. That's why some of the greatest leaders, especially in basketball, were not the greatest players. If you look at Derek Fisher, in most cases he was considered a team captain, but he was not the best player on the court. That's why Kobe said, if I had to listen to anybody, Derek Fisher is the only person I'm listening to. So you just can't go off of analytics. Some people get better under pressure. Some people get worse under pressure, like James Harden. So to have the owner coming out being a proponent of analytics in such a big way, I think is going to be really interesting to see what happens with the Houston Rockets. Now, if they do well this year, they're going to say it's analytics, but you're not going to take into account that you just got an all-star player. You're going to tell me analytics is the reason that made you go get Russell Westbrook over Chris Paul? I mean, at some point, we got to stop with the foolishness. Now, for me, I think analytics has its place, but it should not be the main thing that dictates, just how good a player is. And that's the reason why you saw Bleacher Report come out with that bogus list of the top 50 players of all time and have Kobe Bryant ranked number 14 and David Robinson ranked ahead of Kobe Bryant. This is the reason why a lot of people don't take people seriously when it comes to analytics. How in the hell can you say that David Robinson is better than Kobe Bryant and then you want to justify it with some numbers that don't make no goddamn sense? If you want to know how good a player is, I think the people that need to have precedence are people that actually played basketball. I know it sounds kind of weird to some people that follow analytics, but it does make sense that the people that actually have done the thing that you're talking about should have precedence over, especially they should have sort of the final say on how, on that particular issue. So in my opinion, I think analytics is going to ruin the NBA if they consider to take it if they consider to lean on it so much, especially if they're looking at, the way the NBA is being played. Now the three-point shot is prominent, but you and I both know, if you go outside in the court to go play pickup ball, what's the highest percentage shot you can shoot? That's a shot in the paint. Now, some people may say, yeah, well, analytics tells you that you should shoot in the paint and then only shoot threes. But the closer you are to the basket, the higher your chances are of making a shot. But that's why people like Kawhi Leonard and people who are really good at the mid-range are so lethal, because they can kill you from anywhere. And the analytics is telling you need to be able to take you should be taking three-point shots. And that's one of the reasons why you have a great basketball player in Carmelo Anthony that's not in the leagues because of analytics, but then they left him off the USA team and they went and lost. I think they went and got 7th place in the FIBA competition. So before I go on too long, my whole argument is I think analytics is ruining the NBA. I think they need a lot more basketball minds and less analytic people to go in these up in the upper levels of management when they're making basketball decisions. I think you need basketball minds making basketball decisions. This is just my opinion. Now, what I want to know from you guys is, do you agree with what I'm saying, or do you think I'm bugging? Do you think I sound ignorant, or are you a proponent of analytics? So if you have any thoughts and opinions, please make sure you leave them in the comment section below. I really want to know what you guys think. Again, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll definitely catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.